started kind of just talking like I normally do it until she started getting it to breed. And then I was like, no, I think you have the wrong number. So, oh, yes.
They are very
There was somebody from the church I would pass.
Yeah.
asking if we have any.
So
I mean, you got kids leaving the house soon, right? I mean, you can.
you have to take these out, so when you give them, wish I put them like on this chair, so when you're ready to give them out, they're they can like, you're gonna need a pen too, right? Okay. So you're gonna also give these out. Yeah. So, yeah. So actually, after they finish, we can just put them on the table. And then we'll also do the rest. And these are.
I'll place them from the day you open them.
We're tracking. And our numbers are trending like crazy.
Is there going to be a coalition booth there? I gotta talk to them. Is it Jeremy doing it, or is it Julie? I'll talk to him. I told you we never find out anything, so I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, please do. Yes, please do. Because otherwise I'll never know. Some of it's because they all work from home, so I never see them. Like they're not in the office or anything. Not that I don't quite a bit as well, but not as they're permanently from home right now. And so, yeah, I'll shoot you an email tomorrow to remind you. Yeah, no problem. That's awesome. change the piece every year that put into it. Sometimes it's a piece that's in the program, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's really whatever the head ends up like wants it to be that year.
Yeah, and then, when we come to bring
She told you the first piece of this sign separately, ignore that, sign off one line. We never said that.
She was already
Tell them my catchphrase for you guys.
Usually if you decide to attack it, I just I just deleted every single thing from your file that I supposedly think they would need because I just want them to have to ask me for anything else. If they ask me, it's all process they gotta go through. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I get
it's
trained
fine.
as a part of your experience as a TDRI practitioner is training and how to conduct your calendar. And so now I'm just training.
Thank you.
My 16-year-old told me that.
That was so funny. She was like, I'm going off on somebody and Scott's not here to hold me back. I said, well, could you ask me for a raise while you're all going off on them? Listen. You were. I was almost Speaker of the House. So. You notice they got their act together as soon as you get nominated. At least that's what I mean. It was like they did not want me to come to
Rick,
the
you did
and start
fantastic.
messing up stuff.
Folder back. Right there. I'm used to it.
Good timing, you got it.
So
You did the house study right before we did it. I did
When they
yeah.
came to the
So,
law,
spouse,
like when that was in Montreal and I had to help back, I was like, well, this is getting so good. I gotta get the popcorn ready. This gets good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My kid's crazy.
With the threat of one person can move to remove.
12.
Yep.
So she's 17. You did that. It looks pretty. It looks beautiful though. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you figured that out. Because I would have been like
taking away from there and like your spotlight there.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. We're so glad that you're here. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a second. And you know the routine. If you're joining us in person, feel free to get up and move about, go get more food. If you need to stretch your legs, use the restroom, all that kind of stuff. We're a pretty casual bunch, so we want you to be comfortable. Welcome to those of you that are joining us virtually tonight. We're glad that you're here as well. At the end of every gathering, we ask you to fill out a really short survey. It's 3 questions, and it's, do you feel more connected to the foster and adoptive community? So hopefully that's been facilitated at your tables as you guys share and get to know each other. Did you learn about a new community resource? And I'm hoping to introduce you to a new one in just a second. And then do you feel more equipped in your parenting journey? So those are really our 3 goals for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and call Blake and Sonia up. They are our new community resource. They're with Parents for Parents. They're going to start us off tonight and just explain a little bit about who they are and their program. And I know they had some materials to share with you as well. So thank you so much. Don't be shy. Come up and tell us what you're doing.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sonia Johnson, and this is the program coordinator, Blake Netherly. So we are with the Parents for Parents program, and I am a parent that has lived experience going through the child welfare system. In 2018, I lost my children, and in 2020, I was able to be successfully reunified with a lot of help and support from the community. Thank you. So what we do with the Parents for Parents program is when a parent has their child removed, they have a shelter hearing within 72 hours. We meet them at the shelter hearing, and we just say, hey, we've been in your shoes before, we got through this, and we want to help you get through it. And that's what we do. So we provide ongoing support for the parents. We provide them education. We have a Dependency 101 class. It's a one-time 2-hour class where we teach them everything that they need to know about the process that they are going through. We do not offer legal advice. We just share about the process and give them some tips on how to act in court and how to have a working relationship with the professionals and the foster families as well. Another thing that we do is we connect them to resources, and we give them hope. Just by our lived experience, we give them hope that they can also get through it. So, can you think of anything to add to that?
Yeah.
We are a very new program, so we just actually got into the courtroom December the 1st we started. We have been very well trained. So we trained with pre-service. We did the pre-service with the caseworker so that we can really understand the process and be able to help them make it through there. And we also have been trained from the Children's Home Society in Washington, so we're a promising practice, which is based on an evidence-based program in Washington. What was I going to say? Oh, we're also peer specialists. So we're both in training to get certified as a peer specialist, and we've done lots of training such as like recovery capital and wellness recovery action planning. Basically, we help people set small, achievable goals to take one step at a time, to do the next thing, and then to do the next thing, and to build their confidence as they go. So does anybody have any questions, or do you want to add anything?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for having us tonight. Sonia is like the role model for this program here, and she is an overcomer, and thank you. Thank you. And thank you for everybody that takes care of these children that need homes. And we hope that going with this program that we can build relationships in the community with not only the foster parents, but also the parents that are, going through this journey. It's not fun, and you're very hopeless when your children are taken away from you. You don't want to move forward. That's the reality of it. You get so stuck, and I think most of you probably know the reason that children are removed throughout our community here is because of drug addiction. We're both recovering addicts. We've been there, done it, we've overcame it. But with the right support and having people pretty much praying for us, giving us the tools that we didn't know how to use. And that's the reality of this thing about life's hard. Whether you're an addict, whether you're clean, life's hard. Having children is hard. And so we just hope that we can all come together within the community to hopefully get these children to a better place. If we help the parents, we help the children, and that's just what I hope we can do. And I hope this promising practice is going to be promising in Sarasota, Manatee County.
And DeSoto.
What's the referral process? Like if we have a family who's maybe they're co-parenting with someone, can they connect with you, or is it initial removal
Absolutely. You guys can reach out to us. There's no referral process. Anyone in the community can reach out to us. Just email me, Sonia, and we'll connect with them.
Yeah, and Blake's phone number is listed on all of the. Blake's phone number is listed on all of the brochures, so if you have a parent that needs support or you know a parent that needs support, please call Blake. She will connect with me. I mean, we both will connect with the parent and help them get through the process. We'll take anybody, anywhere, it doesn't matter. If they're a parent that needs support, we will take them.
What about parents that don't have active cases in the welfare system, but they have had their children move before, they're back in and they're not doing so well, and they're at risk of having their children move again?
Send them our way.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Send
Send 'em
them,
to us.
yeah, definitely send them our way. And another thing that we do, I didn't mention, is parenting support groups. So what we hope to do is when we do help somebody make it through the process, we're gonna call them back in to help us help the next group of parents get through it. So one of the things that we do is a parenting support group, like during and after child welfare involvement. So if somebody was at risk, we would pull them in, take them under our wing, and help them to get back on track so that that doesn't happen again, because we know it does sometimes, they get re-involved.
Yeah. And we're going to have a support group, and anyone's welcome to come to that. Like the individual you're speaking of, they can come to our class. They don't have to have an active case plan. People, send them our way. I think another thing that we're seeing too from like what we've been doing is a lot of parents in the community. So a caseworker is supposed to provide parents with like resources, and we're seeing that it's not really happening, and it's making it harder for parents that are even doing the right thing to even get their children back. So that is hopefully where we're going to be able to come in and say we can send a referral out, and if it's something that a caseworker can only do, that's another situation. But anything that they need that we can help with, we're going to help them. We are funded through like private funders. We work for NAMI, which is a nonprofit organization. No, we're free. It's complete free support. I mean, we're not a licensed therapist or anything.
You were needed years and years and years.
Thank you.
This is like a turnaround. This is exactly what the court needs.
And we have the support from judges. We're not in Manatee County yet, but the idea is to be in Manatee County after a year of showing that we're changing things in the community, and we have numbers to show. We can get state funding.
We will take a parent in
Yes.
Manatee County though. So just because they're not in our data program, that's what we're doing, is collecting data to see what the numbers are and actually turning them around and being reunified and having less TPRs, so that hopefully we can get funding next year too. But if they're in Manatee or DeSoto County, as long as it's Circuit 12, we will take them. Yes, Sarasota County for sure. Yes.
That's where we're at. Yeah.
Yes, DeSoto County as well.
And another thing, our Dependency 101 class, so we offer it once a month. We also offer it virtually. And we will even meet a parent in the community anywhere. We'll bring it to them, to help them to get to where they need to be. That's what people had to do for us to get us to where we need to be in our lives today. Another thing that is not developed yet, I am going to be developing probably over the next 6-7 months, is a Dependency 201 class. And what that's going to be is like a crisis plan. So people can get their life, even me, my life is together, but things still happen in my life. But I have those supports, and that's what we want to teach other parents, that what to do when you're in a situation like this. Instead of falling apart and losing it all, what can you do to keep it together? Right. So yeah. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Amazing. The research that's coming out on the peer-to-peer model in general is really encouraging. So what a great program, and thanks for spending some time with us tonight. And I think you're going to be getting some calls. So that's an enthusiastic response that we had. So thank you all. Well, welcome again. We're glad that you're here at the gathering. Most of you probably know that we offer a trauma-informed training once a month, but we also host a monthly ladies' night out. You can request home improvement projects. We have financial assistance, meal delivery, all kinds of things. We want to come alongside and support you. Two really exciting announcements that we have right now. There are some flyers on your tables. One is the Superhero 5K is coming up. We're just about 4 weeks away. That is our annual foster care awareness race at Nathan Benderson Park. In your email, you have received a coupon code for 50% off, I think. So if you haven't registered yet, the price has gone up, but we still want you to be there. So you can go ahead and register, use that code, use it before the end of the month so that you're guaranteed a t-shirt. If you really want to be there and it's still cost prohibitive, just send me an email and I'll write you a code for free for your family. So we want as many foster and adoptive families to be there as possible. It's important to us that you're represented at that event since you're the ones that are doing the hard work every day. So the other exciting piece of news that we have is that Bridge Life is instrumental in bringing an Isaiah 117 house to our area. If you're not sure what Isaiah 117 house is, we would love for you to come to our kickoff event on January 23rd. Isaiah 117 houses exist to reduce the day of removal trauma. So rather than a child being removed and riding around in the back of a police car or being in a case manager's office or being sort of moved around in those hours leading up to where their placement may ultimately be, they go to a home that's stocked with really great food and loving volunteers who are trauma trained. They can take a nap, they can take a shower. They leave with backpack full of everything that they need. It's another way to offer kids dignity on a really hard day. We know that it doesn't solve the hard that's ahead of them, but when we can reduce trauma on any level, that's what we want to do, and we know that that day of removal is a lot of trauma. So we're bringing it home to our area. We're really excited about it, and you can learn more at the January event, or you can take a picture of that QR code, or you can email Michelle Allen. She's our expansion coordinator. So I'm going to open us with prayer. I'm going to introduce our trainers, and we're going to get going. God, thanks for the opportunity to be together. Thank you for partnership and for people who are super smart that think outside the box about how to make the system better. Thanks for the way that you protect families and kids, and we just pray that that continues to happen. We know that our kiddos face a lot of hard things, and we're here to be part of the solution. So speak clearly to us. Help us have clear minds, open hearts. Help us to put aside the things that are burdening us, and just be receptive to the things that we're going to hear. And God, it's for the kids that we love. You've called us to this, and we want to be the best at it that we can be. So we're thankful that you're a perfect Heavenly Father, and we just want to model our lives after you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, well, our friends at Chosen Families are back. They're with Parenting Matters, and Chosen Families is a program that's part of Parenting Matters that's specifically for adoptive families. But we know whether you're an adoptive family, a foster family, a relative or non-relative caregiver, a lot of the struggles that our kids have are the same. And so we're going to hear from them tonight about consistent parenting, something that I'm sure we can all, use some encouragement with. So thanks for being here with us tonight, and you can come ahead up. Yeah, whoever wants to go first, if you want to talk about the program and then lead right into the training, I'll let you kind of pass off to them. Tell us what you do, and then you can, yeah, perfect.
Sounds
Thanks.
good. Yeah, I'm not going to talk very long because I know my wonderful coworkers have some great things to say, and I don't want to take away from that. You all have started getting acquainted with my face from seeing me out front when you come to sign in, when I'm demanding you to sign in, right, Scott? Yeah. And I'm Teresa Alford. I'm the service coordinator, and the reason I'm starting, because I am the starting point. If you are wanting Chosen Family programs, you would contact me, Chosen Family Services, I should say, and I'll get you started. I'm not going to go, like I said, into a lot of information, but one of the primary programs we offer is our parenting education program. And we have some very well-qualified parenting educators who will be coming to your home once a week for about an hour or so each week when you're involved in the program. And one thing I'll say, because this question came up, is how much does it cost? $0. Well, we have we're funded through Manatee County, which is why we only serve Manatee County adoptive families. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Brooke Robertson and to Jackie Hester. I think she's taking the lead. Brooke has kind of lost her voice, so I'm going to turn it over.
I think I have a mic. Okay. Thanks, Teresa. Maybe just leave it on the... So thank you, Jody, and thank you, Bridge of Life, for having us back. I got to speak last year and really had a fun time with you guys. And I just want to shout out to Bridge of Life because they do so much in this community, and they're such a big part of the adoption and foster parent community. Every time I come here, I feel like I'm going back home because I started my career many, many, many decades ago in training foster parents. So this is kind of fun. So when I come here, I love doing this. So tonight, Brooke and I, we chose a topic, consistency in parenting. One, because I believe it's one of the cornerstones to effective parenting. The 2 C's, connection, consistency. We're going to talk about consistency, although connection is woven through all of this. The other reason, it's kind of one of the reasons I see parents quite a bit. They come into our office, and a lot of times they come in for one issue, but it always kind of leads to, are they being consistent? So some of you may be really consistent, and that's awesome. I look forward to having you kind of shout out some stuff as we do some of this. Others of you may not be as consistent and may benefit from this training. You know what? I'm a parent. I've been a parent for now 26 years. So as a parent, there were times that I found myself being more consistent, and then other times when I was less consistent. So we're gonna definitely talk about this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of take you through our parenting education session. So you guys are going to be in session with me tonight, with me and Brooke. And what we do in our sessions, and of course this is going to be a very condensed version of sessions, of our session, but what we're going to do is we're going to first start with an awareness. So we're going to do some awareness activities, which basically helps you to kind of figure out, is this a topic I probably need some work on? And that happens a lot of times through awareness. Then we're going to, do some education. We're going to talk about the subject and hopefully give you a little information. And then at the end, we're going to build a plan with you. And I always like, when I'm working with parents, to leave them with something, to kind of leave them with something that they can take action with. But as much as I like to leave them with something, I also think that nothing happens unless they're aware of what they need to do. So the focus tonight is not going to be on kids' behavior. It's going to really be on the parents' behavior. So let's look at consistency from 2 places. Brooke, can I get the next one? We're going to look at it from consistency of response. And consistency of response is basically the way that we hold on to our rules and our consequences that we dish out. And then we're going to look at it from consistency of responsiveness. And this is the way that you respond on a day-to-day basis to your kids. Do you respond from a place of being regulated and being calm and accepting? Or do you respond from a place of being like, what's going on? So those are the 2 places that we look at consistency. So tonight, one of my favorite quotes, and I think we have it next, Brooke. Can I get you? Yep. Consistent of parenting. I may not always know what my child will do, but my child will always know what I will do. So that's kind of what I want you to keep in mind as we're talking, that your child will know what you're going to say to them and how you're going to say it, and that it's going to be consistent along the way. All right, the first thing I want to do is introduce you to your folders. Everybody should got a blue folder, nice big bright blue folder. Does anyone not have a folder? Okay. So what we're going to do is open the folder to the first page, which is the light blue page. and we're going to do a quick little exercise. And this exercise is, so go ahead and take that out. And the exercise is basically, I'm going to take you through ways that parents are inconsistent. So as we're going through that, we have a little kind of score sheet there for you to look at. And unlikely means unlikely to be inconsistent. Very likely means to be consistent. So it has the code up there. So as I read the first one, you'll kind of catch on. So everybody's got their sheet out and ready to go. So these are ways parents are inconsistent. The first one being rules are enforced inconsistently at different times. So I'll give you an example. Parents tell kids that they can only play on a video game after homework is done. But then later in the week, the parent allows the kid to play the video game before the homework's completed. So just kind of, look at that. Is that something that kind of happens that's hard for you? And then score yourself. What happens is when parents don't stick to their own rules, then they undermine their own authority in the household. So keep that in mind. Second one, rules enforced inconsistently in different places, different environments. So the example is, kid is at home and wants to play on the parent's phone. Parent has a rule, kids don't play on my phone. Then later in the week, while waiting in the doctor's office, the kid starts whining and complaining that they're bored. Guess what the parent does? They hand the kid the phone. So in the home, the parent's enforcing the rule, you can't play on my phone. But when they go out and the kid's whining or complaining, or what I usually hear, they're driving me crazy, the parent will find a way to lessen that, and they become inconsistent, okay? Number 3, inconsistent rules between siblings, the kids that you're raising. So a parent tells one child they cannot have a friend over on weeknights. And then a couple days later, the parent allows the sibling of that child to have a friend over so they can do homework. That's really confusing to kids. A lot of times a parent will come in and see us and say, there is so much sibling rivalry between these two. I don't understand. They should love each other, but they're at each other. Well, some of that's normal, as we know. But sometimes that sibling rivalry actually happens because of the way the parent is inconsistently parenting those children. It actually increases the sense of favoritism. And what happens when your kid thinks you're favoring their sibling over you? They're going to feel resentful, and they're probably going to act out in lots of different ways. All right, number 4, erratic privileges. What is that? Well, here's your example. Parent tells teenager that they can go to a high school party as long as the parents of that house is chaperoning. 2 weeks later, parent says no to the child that they can't go to a party because they heard rumors that all high school parties have drinking. Kid tells parents that the parents will be chaperoning, that was your rule, and you can even call them. Parent says, no, we're just gonna shut down all high school parties. So the parent has changed the privilege on the child. Had nothing to do with really the child, it had to do with some of the fears of the parent. And when that happens, that inconsistency basically builds a distrust between the child and the parent. And the child most likely will probably act out. All right, next one, number 5, inconsistency in co-parenting. So if you're parenting with a partner, a spouse, or a grandparent, the example would be one person allows the kid to stay up at 8:30, and then the other person, when they're home with the kid and the other parent's out maybe having dinner with their friends or something, the other parent lets the kid stay up till 9:30. Does that ever happen? And anybody? No. Oh, never. Oh, good. Good to hear that. That happened in my house. And that is inconsistency in co-parenting. And I hear that a lot. I actually hear that very, very frequently with the parents that I work with, where one parent is doing something and the other parent is doing something else. And sometimes they don't even know they're doing it until I bring them together and ask them to tell me what they think the rule around potentially bedtime is. And they're telling me totally different times. And then they can't understand why the kids are not following the rule. So this kind of conflict leads to the good cop, bad cop type of syndrome. Does everybody know what good cop, bad cop in the home is? Yeah. Okay, number 6, empty threats. So this one is parent wants to control or scare the kid into compliance. So what they do is they make an empty threat, and it usually doesn't even have anything to do with what's going on. And the parent knows very well when they make this threat, they're not going to hold to it. They're not going to be consistent. So an example would be, parent threatens the teenager that they will not attend a school dance this weekend unless they clean their room. Well, the parent knows that no matter if they clean their room or not, they're going to let them attend the dance. The teenager may or may not know that, depending on how many times the parent has made these empty threats. So what happens with this is kids start not believing what parents say. That inconsistency in basically telling a kid what it's going to be and making empty threats causes the kid to not believe what the parents are going to say. As we went through that, does anyone want to just make a comment about that? Or is there a place that you find yourself or you see that happening? You know, co-parenting, yeah.
Well, it's not that, it happens in my house.
Okay,
Consistent rules of my siblings.
okay.
Because I've got a 28-year-old, I've got a 16-year-old, and then I've got an 8-year-old. Now, my 8-year-old has brain damage, so therefore, he's like a 3-year-old. So he can't go outside by himself. He can't go around the block on his bike. So I have to parent very differently for each one of my kids. So yes, that is inconsistent, but I don't trust my 8-year-old to go spend the night over at a friend's house like I can my 16-year-old.
And that is an absolutely great point, because really as parents, we're parenting to a child's need. We're not parenting across the board as fair. It's not always fair, and you'll hear kids say, that's not fair. But what we're really doing is parenting to the need of the child, the developmental need, the chronological age, as well as the developmental age, because we know those can be very different. So that does happen. And that can create some resentment between children. But I think as we're parenting to their needs, we're also hopefully talking about it with them, also parenting to specific privileges that maybe your 8-year-old can have a privilege that makes sense and that feels good to them. So that can happen. In those cases, that's very different. In this case, we're really talking about 2 kids who are pretty much developmentally the same, and that the parent is playing maybe a little bit more favoritism, or maybe the parent one kid is nagging the parent more and they're kind of giving in. So that's where we see a little bit more of the sibling stuff. But you're absolutely right. It is very hard to parent kids of different age, and especially when there's an adult child in the home. And that's a whole nother seminar. But thank you for bringing that up. I really like that you brought it up. Anybody else before we move on? Okay, so we're going to do a definition of consistency. Brooke, you want to write on the beautiful whiteboard? I want you guys to throw out words that pretty much describe what it means to be consistent. And just throw them out, and you don't have to raise your hand, just kind of give them to Brooke. Any words that come to mind? Dependable. Okay, that's a good one. What's that one? No. Okay. No. That word no. So you know what? I read somewhere, anything after the word no is just your kid's attempt to get you to change it. So saying that strong no is really important. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Equal. Okay. We just talked a little bit about that. Thank you. Predictable. I love that. Other words? Repeatable. Doing something over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again. So they can count that it's going to be repeated day in and day out. Okay. Any other words? This is a good list. All right, so routine. So tonight we're talking a lot about, we're probably talking more about discipline, but you're absolutely right. The routine in the household is very important for kids to know that this is going to be the same thing every day, especially the kids that are from trauma backgrounds, okay? Safety. Yeah, I think that's a really big one. To know that you are safe, that when you wake up in the morning, that mom or dad's going to be there, just like when you go to bed at night, they're going to be there. And I'm going to feel safe, and they're going to protect me, and that no matter what happens, I'm going to be safe in their arms. I like that. Is that how you're describing it? Okay, that's great. Other words? Okay, so we kind of came up with a meaning that kind of encompasses everything that you just said. Say what you mean and mean what you say, and then take action. So I think when we say take action, we're talking about kids following not just your words, but your feet. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. And I think that's that predictability part. They know that what you say, you're going to absolutely do. Can you go to the next slide, Brooke? So action equals consistency. Consistency equals action. Action equals trust. Trust equals connection. Connection equals better behavior. Does that make sense? How do we get from connection to consistency to connection to better behavior? We know that when a kid is connected to you, they are more likely wanting to behave for you. When there's a breach in connection, and I'm not going to get too far off of this, we see more defiant behaviors across the board. So when I'm working with parents who come in and say, my kid is so defiant, and of course we look at what that all means, I don't necessarily jump into the behavior, I jump in first to the connection. And I also look at, is that parent being consistent? Is that parent being consistent with the rules in the home? And is that parent also being consistent with their responses to whatever the kid brings to them? Okay, questions about that? All right. So now we're going to kind of break you in groups, and your group is your table, so you don't have to move around. We're going to talk about barriers to parenting with consistency. What are some of the things that cause parents not to be consistent? Did you guys have one? I saw you. You have read my mind. So you have absolutely, hello. So when you are tired, it is a killer of consistency. And I can tell you across the board, when I ask parents the question, what keeps you from, holding those rules in place or using the same, discipline strategy over and over again? I always hear, I am so tired. I'm just too tired to do this. So that is one of the biggest barriers, absolutely. So we're going to kind of come up with a list. So Brooke, let's grab some paper, and we're going to have you guys brainstorm just real quick for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll help you with that as well. Why don't you give me half, and I'll give some of it out. And you brainstorm as a group, and then we'll ask you to give you your list. And I have some more markers. I'm going to go ahead and shoot some markers over here. Somebody's going to be the writer and the speaker of what we come up with. Hey, this is the baby group here. There we go. And let me go get you some markers. So brainstorming barriers to consistency. And those at home, grab a piece of paper, and you guys do the same thing. And then send your stuff to Jody, and she can kind of add it into our running list. So go ahead and take a minute and do that. So we know exhaustion's one, but we need some more. There are a couple more in there. What causes you not to be inconsistent?
Great. Throw it out there, guys. What causes us guilt?
I will say, I'm going to tell you right now that that is good, kind of being a single parent, is that I don't argue with anybody except me. So it's, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Would you say that? What would you?
I was thinking of being
Never stop me.
sometimes that's a barrier, or being impulsive kind of goes together. Yeah. Oh, we should just skip breakfast, or
Not necessarily a bad thing. That's the problem. You have to actually do the talking afterward. But yeah, I did that with Cameron one time. I did that with Cameron one time in the grocery store. In the grocery store, we walked right out of the grocery store, cart full of stuff in the middle of Publix. And I was like,
Let's take about 2 more minutes. I know that list could be a running list, but just because we want to be aware of time.
I gotta do this all on my own now. I thought about it a couple of times, and then I remember what I do for a living.
Okay, so let's wrap your last couple down. So as you're writing your last couple of stuff down, does anybody in here want to be more consistent? Just kind of, yeah. Yeah, oh, okay, good, good. Just making sure we're speaking the same language. Okay. Does anyone in here find it really hard to be consistent? Okay. Yeah. Do you find that it's hard to be consistent in parenting, but it's easy to be consistent in other things? Heck yeah. Parenting is the hardest place to be consistent. Well, that's because parenting is the hardest job you're ever going to have. So, yeah. So why would it be easy? All right, so I need a spokesperson from each table to read our list. And Brooke, maybe we'll go ahead and do a little running list on a couple of them.
Take the mic to them.
Oh, okay, perfect. And
Who's the brave table?
whoever wants to start can start.
Danielle, did I hear
And
you
Brooke,
say
can
you were
you
starting?
write a couple of these?
Oh,
Oh, did this table volunteer? That's fantastic. Okay, and you know what? As we go along, cross off your list if you have the same thing, and then as you get to your table, you may want to add something. All right.
Okay, so
And
first,
tell us your name so I know.
I'm Scott.
Hi, Scott.
And first we had exhaustion, which everybody had. And then we had overthinking a response, like
It's a good one.
trying to adjust the standard to the kid and,
Okay.
and sometimes going overboard with that.
Okay.
We never do that. I've just heard some people might do
Some
it.
people, not
might
you.
benefit
I
from
know.
that, you know.
This is about some people.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all know.
Overthinking.
We all know who they are. Yeah. Convenience is another one, which is sort of like exhaustion. Environment is one. Just lack of follow through we had.
Okay.
Just kind of like the empty threat thing, and then parenting from anger
Parenting from anger.
or emotional response.
Wow, that is a very meaty list. Yeah, the overthinking, that's kind of interesting. Give me an example of that.
Well, okay, so we have three kids.
Oh, sorry, microphone. Oh, Teresa.
You're good.
Okay,
So I think what we were saying was we have three kids, very different, and you want to have the same standard for everybody, and yet they're not all the same person,
right.
and they don't have the same personality or talents or gifts or whatever. So you can sometimes shoot yourself in the foot by not enforcing the same standard for everybody, or everybody might hear it hear the correction or hear the standard differently, and then you sort of, I don't want to have to explain. It might take like 1 second to tell one kid, but then like an hour to explain the other one.
Got it.
Which goes back to exhaustion.
Yep.
So that's the kind of thing I think was that accurate?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, and that brings a great point. Kids can interpret what you say very differently than what their sibling interprets it at. And parents interpret things very differently than what they think the kids are interpreting. So a lot of that is in the communication. Okay, table 2. Who's the next table to share? Okay, yeah, absolutely. And tell us your name, spokesperson.
Hi, I'm Renee.
Hi, Renee.
So we had lack of quick results. So we'll like try to be consistent for a time, and then it's not working, so we give up.
Okay. So what do you think is I'm curious, what do you think is a reasonable time limit to try something over and over again till you see results? Once? Once. Perhaps that may be creating some inconsistency. She said once, home audience. Go ahead.
Maybe over a month or two.
Okay.
But I think the more that you've been inconsistent, the more the child is going to rebel against consistency. So if you can't keep it up, it's going to just look like, oh yeah, this didn't work.
Absolutely. And kids know when they can bring you to a point of throwing your hands up. Right. So that's an excellent one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Then we had some of us have children who are more compliant than others, and it's just a lot easier to have higher expectations of the more compliant kids, to the point where like I even have one child who like, you know, they're trying to make money, so they want to do this. Oh, I'll do this. And I'm like, oh, no, let her do that because she'll do a better job. Or so there was that. And then we had the good old avoiding a meltdown in public, being embarrassed.
Yeah, that public display of, yeah. So when you do that, are you more apt to not poke the tiger, even if it means being inconsistent?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. It's a good one.
And then we just had different temperaments. And I think to an extent, like, I don't know, kids are different. And so they have different, like, skills and different abilities to do things. So I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I will frequently adjust my expectations to what I know my child is capable of.
So we're going to talk a little bit about course correction at the later time, course, as we go along. That makes a really good point. Consistency doesn't mean we can't be flexible. Consistency is holding on to the outcome, but in between, we may have to do some course correction if it's really not working, and if we do have to adjust for some things. So I like that you made that point. Really good ones. I like that. You guys are getting to like the hardest stuff that I haven't thought about. Okay, who's next? What table would like to go? Oh, here we have a volunteer. All right. Okay. And please say your name. So,
Jessica.
Jessica.
We have guilt.
Oh. Okay.
Sentimentality.
Ooh, tell me about that. That's a great word. I don't think I can spell it, but I like it. What does that mean?
How would you describe it? You're the one that came up with it.
Being a softie.
Being a softie.
You know,
Is that about parenting style? Maybe your parenting style is a little more permissive. Okay. I like that word, though. It's a good one.
preoccupied and or dysregulated parent.
And that's where we're talking about how you respond, consistency or through dysregulation. Good one.
Impulsive moments, spontaneous moments, holidays.
Ooh, holidays. Stop there. Who finds themselves more inconsistent during the holidays in parenting? Okay. Go ahead.
Vacations,
Again.
school breaks, overthinking.
Overthinking. So we got another overthinking. Before we move on, tell me about guilt. Guilt in parenting. Parenting from a place of guilt.
Well, like for me, I've got a stepdaughter who I raised.
Okay.
And so, I always try to go the extra mile because I was from a very blended family.
Okay.
And I couldn't imagine, she was seven years old and dropped off at our doorstep, and I'm leaving the state.
Sure.
So I, as an adult, felt totally guilty. And of course, now as I've learned, I did make some wrong choices in my parenting because I was overcompensating for what she didn't have, which, I felt the loss at the time she might not have.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I talk to a lot of parents, especially with the children that they have adopted, will tell me, well, they've gone through, so much, so I don't want to make it harder. Well, I ask them, is this going to actually really make it easier in the long run if they don't learn that you're predictable, if they don't learn that you're going to hold even on the hard stuff? So that's a really good one. Thanks for sharing that one. Is there anything else on the list before we go to the next table?
Convenience.
Convenience. Oh, that is a big one. Yeah. Sometimes it's really inconvenient to have to stand firm. Like it may mean that, that you're not going to do something that the family wants to do because you told the kid, we're not going to do this. And then you're like, oh man, I really wanted to do it, but we're not going to do it. Okay, so, oops, the microphone. Thank you. You guys have amazing ones. I'm wondering if you guys are just so well trained in this group. Who would like to talk? And please tell us your name.
Amy.
Amy.
We don't have a whole lot of new ones. Developmental levels of the children and disabilities that they might have, which Jessica kind of talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Children who are persistent.
Oh boy. Did you ever hear about the strong-willed kid? Y'all know the strong-willed kid? Does anyone have a strong-willed kid? Oh my goodness. And they persist and they persist, and they know how to persist to a point that you just give in. Yeah, that's a great one.
And I think the only other one different that we had was remembering what you said. My son says this to me all the time. You won't remember. That's when I get out my phone and put it on there. So that I don't forget.
That. So you got your phone to let you know, dude, I remember. So my kids used to do that all the time to me. They would say, oh, you didn't say that. And I would have to think, gosh, did I say that? I wish there was a tape recorder back then. But you're absolutely right. And that's why sometimes writing the rules, having them in writing, is a really good strategy so everybody knows what they are. That's an excellent one. Okay, thank you. Oops, sorry. And our last table, the baby table. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a lot of repeats, but we do have at least one different. Is different parenting objectives is kind of how we listed it. So between husband and wife, if one has a certain goal with trying to instill a character trait or something, and then the other one has a little different objective. Safety is one of them. Hey, you got to put your helmet on every time you get on your bike. And so it can be inconsistent between parents because they have different views of what the rules actually represent and what they're trying to do. And then incorporated as cultural backgrounds can have that too, where there's just different. You were brought up different, and so you have different things that you just assume are normal when you're trying to parent your kids. Social pressure, which is what we talked about, if you parent your kids differently in front of the pastor as opposed to in front of the baseball coach, right? So it just happens. Impatience was a long one. I think somebody talked over there you just give up because it's this is taking way too long and I'm going to bribe my child instead of enforce the rules. And then children's personality, ability, compliance. You guys kind of talked about all that too. So.
Great ones. And you know what? You make a really good point about when parents are parenting, one, with different parenting styles, but two, also different value systems. One of the exercises that I do with parents is I bring them together to talk about what values they want to bring forward with their kids. So when their kids leave their home, what values do you want your kids to take with you? And I have them actually talk about it to each other. Because it's interesting how maybe one parent says, I want my kid to be competitive and to be this competitive person out there, where another parent will say, no, the value that I really am trying to enforce is kindness. It's you would think they all are all the same, but they're not. So I think, one of the things, here's something to do in your free time, because y'all don't have nothing to do, but go home, and if you're parenting with somebody, talk about what is the most important values you want your kids to go out in the world with. And you know what? If you have an adult kid, it's so interesting. Ask them, what did you take away? What value did you leave here? And was I consistent in parenting that? For instance, if your value is to have an independent kid, okay, an independent adult, then when your kid calls you from school in middle school and says, shoot, I forgot my project, can you bring it to me? If your value system is, sentimentality. If your value system is to actually say, no, I want an independent adult, then I'm probably not going to bring them that project, okay? Because they're going to have to take what comes when you forget something. However, if my value system is something else, and that's not one of my top values, maybe I would bring them that project. So I think it's a really good exercise. It's really important to talk to your spouse. Isn't that a crazy thing? Yeah. Actually, in your folder, you're going to see something that says, have you discussed? It's kind of a bonus thing. We're not going to do this tonight, but it is just some behaviors and things like doing homework, putting away clothes, and it's things you should talk to your spouse or your parenting partner about. Have a conversation about some of those things. Okay, y'all did a great job. You thought of things I wouldn't have even thought of, and I really like the examples. Jody, did any of the home audience people come up with anything different? Nope, okay. All right, so let's talk about real quickly, why does consistency matter? I'm not going to tell you. You got a block on the table, somebody different, read off your block why it matters. Table, oh, thank you, Teresa. Can you go around and just whoever reads the block? Okay, so why don't we start at the end and come forward? Okay, so on your block, these are the blocks of consistency and why it matters. What's on your block? And tell us your name, so make sure we all know each other.
All right, my name's Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. My block says consistency breeds trust and security.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, Teresa, next table. Let's see what's on their block.
Consistency creates predictability for kids.
That predictability word, that word's going to just keep coming and coming, okay? This table, and we need your name.
I'm Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi. Consistency is what you say repeatedly to a child that becomes their inner voice when they grow and separate from you.
So this is my absolute favorite. This is my why. And when we do our consistency plan with you, I'm going to ask you what your why is. My why has always been that when I was consistent in my value system, the rules that I felt were important for my kids to take with them, my love, I hope that when they go out and have to make a decision in the world, the voice that they hear is mine. So thank you. Okay, here we go.
All right. I see a blue block over here.
Blue block.
Rebecca, consistency gives kids the foundation to self-control and self-discipline.
Absolutely. The only way our kids learn to be in self-control and to have self-discipline is when we do the same thing repeatedly. I'm seeing you shake your head. Amen. Okay, here we go. Tell us your name.
Wendy.
Wendy, hello.
Consistency helps kids connect the dots of cause and effect.
Ooh, Isn't that a big one? Because some of our kids who have missed that little developmental piece when they were being introduced to learning cause and effect, and they didn't get it, okay, because their life was chaotic, now they're in our home, and by being consistent, they're going to be able to connect the dots. My behavior causes this. So I think that's a big one. Okay, good job. So now, we're going to go and we've done some awareness work. We understand why consistency is important. We did a little work with, places that you're consistent or maybe not. And now we're going to kind of go into a consistency plan. And so this plan, we're going to kind of just walk through it, and at different places I'm going to stop you and I'm going to have you talk about it a little bit. But we're going to actually create a plan as if you guys need to work on consistency. Of course you guys don't, but let's just say you're going to share it with somebody else. So this is our consistency plan, resetting consistency. So in a place that maybe you would like to be more consistent. So the first part of the plan is your why. Why is this important? When I work with a parent or a couple, I ask them, why are we working on this? Why is this important to you? Maybe I'm telling you it's a good thing, but you know what? It doesn't matter what I say. I don't live in your home, but if you believe it's important, you're more likely to be consistent with the plan. So I want you to write down your why. Why would you want to work on being more consistent? And some examples I put on here is consistency reduces defiant behavior, because remember, consistency equals action equals consistency, consistency equals connection equals less defiance. Maybe it's because you're having a lot of sibling discourse, and maybe you being more consistent in the way you respond to the children will reduce that. So what is your why? And then I'm just going to ask for some volunteers to tell me some of your whys. So take a sec. Teresa, you have the microphone, because you're going to run around when we ask for some of that. At home, do the same. What is your why? Why is it important for you to work on this subject, consistency? And your why can be absolutely different from anybody else's why in this room. We'll give it a minute. I know it's some quick thinking. Usually, by the way, we do this over weeks. If you have a why that you would like to share, raise your hand and Teresa will pop over to you. If you have a why that you like to share.
Looks like people are still writing.
That's okay. Okay, we got a why.
I put that knowing the boundaries or the parameters just makes life easier for everybody.
Yeah, brings peace to the home, doesn't it? So your why is a little peace? It's a good one. A lot of peace, not just a little. Okay, anybody else has a why they want to share? Do we see one over here? Anybody? I'm not going to make you share it if you don't want to, but if you do, okay, we got one over there. Teresa, can you run real quick over there? You're loud? Okay.
Well, but we have the video is why we want to use the microphone. So
we're sharing our whys for those people at home, why this is important.
It helps children to understand authority, cause and effect.
Beautiful.
And authority to work in the world, you kind of need to know it.
And you know what? That's a beautiful why, because when they leave your house, we want them to be able to understand that the rules at school or the rules at church or the rules at another child's home are important. And the only way they're going to learn that is how consistent you are with them at home. That's a great one. Anybody, another why, and then we're going to move on to choosing a goal. Okay? Okay, so, and I know I'm bringing you through this plan very quickly, and like I said, usually we do this over a course of time, but I want you to at least take a plan home that you can kind of work through and kind of use as a tool. Okay, choosing a goal. So here's the thing about choosing a goal. I have parents who want to work on some consistency in their parenting. And when I ask them, tell me something you want to work on, they give me this list of all the things they want to work on, And I can tell you in a week, they're not going to work on anything because it's too hard to work on many things to change at once. So you bite off more than you can chew. So when we choose a goal, choose one goal and choose one that you think you can be successful at. So don't reach for the stars quite yet. Just choose a goal that you feel like you can be successful. And maybe the goal is 8:30 bedtime. That's the goal. It's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be real complicated. So go ahead and write a goal that maybe you would want to work on. And then if anybody wants to share, please do. We'll bring the microphone to you. And at home, you should be working on choosing a goal and not biting off too much more than you can chew. By the way, one of the goals that I wrote in here was 3 words of praise daily to my child. That's a consistency plan. Wow. Can you imagine what that does if 3 times a day you gave authentic praise, effective praise? Effective praise is not, you're just a good girl. Effective praise is, I really like how you helped Daddy pick up those toys. That's effective praise. Yeah, being very specific. And can you imagine what a child would feel like if you gave them 3 words of praise every day? And parents will say, I probably do that. And then I'll say, okay, tell me one of those things you said yesterday. And they're like, oh. So, okay. So a goal. My favorite's always reduce yelling. Who would like to yell less? Do we have any yellers in the room? Yeah. That, by the way, that is one of the other things that most parents come to see me for. They yell. And it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. So we do a lot of work on that. Okay. Anybody want to share one of the goals that they chose? Again, simple, concrete, easy, something that you can do. Anybody? Anybody want to share? Give a minute more to write it. Oh, we got another share. Thank you.
Be on time.
Be on time. Tell me what that looks like. Be on time to what?
We don't do it, but we want to.
Well, would it be a goal if you do it?
Yeah. Just, no, we weren't. We were 15 minutes late.
Then we were really late.
Yeah.
Be on time.
We plan. We even sometimes say the time is different.
Yeah.
Just so we can, just be on time.
Okay, I love that goal. That is very concrete. You know what it means, and we can build a plan around it. So, good goal. Anybody else want to share a goal before we move to the next phase of the plan? Okay. Next phase is making a plan. Oh, that's that phase where you got to put a plan in place. Wow. So making a plan needs, again, to be simple and concrete terms. So making a plan, and I kind of gave you an example. It has kind of 4 parts, the way I see it anyway. You have the goal, be on time. What's your plan? What is one thing you can do to kind of work to be on time? So you're picking a plan. Here I have to ensure that kids pick up dirty clothing. The plan is kids will pick up clothing every night before bedtime. Then we have an action. Clothes are picked up and placed in a wastebasket. Clothes that are picked up and placed in a wash basket will be laundered. If they're not picked up, they don't get laundry. And then the natural consequences. There's got to be a consequence, okay? And the consequence can be a natural consequence. It doesn't have to be an imposed consequence. Clothes that are not picked up and placed in the wash basket will not be laundered. So that could be as simple as a plan. Now, there may be some stuff we need to add to that along the way, and I will talk about that in a course correction, but that could be a plan. All right, anybody have a plan they want to share, or a goal and maybe one thing that they would do? Anybody? People at home, make sure you're picking your plan, and do you have anything you want to share? Okay, and by the way, I know I'm asking you guys to do a lot of thinking at some kind of 7 o'clock at night or something, but the hope is that you'll look at this again and kind of create this. And if you're doing this, please do it with the partner you're parenting with, because if your plan is without them, then it's probably not going to work. All right, let's talk about celebrating wins. So that is, how many of you actually reflect at the end of the day on the things that you do well in parenting? Does anybody here? Anybody? Does anybody sit at the end of the day and say, oh my gosh, I did a great job. All the kids are fed tonight. Listen, that can be a successful goal, especially if you got a bunch of kids. So what I find is when I'm working with parents, they forget to celebrate the small wins. And one of the things that I do very frequently is when I meet with them, and I typically meet with parents weekly, some less than weekly, whatever, maybe every other week. I'll say to them, tell me one of your parenting wins. Tell me your win. What are you proud of? And it doesn't have to be big. It's small, incremental wins. So when we do a plan and we work on consistency, having to celebrate those wins keeps us motivated. So guess what? I want to go around, and I want you to do this quickly. I want you to tell me, and if you can't, you pass it, one parenting win you had in the last couple of days. We'll start here. Do we have a microphone? Parenting win.
It's going to Wendy.
And it can be very, very small.
I think this could qualify as a parenting win because we got restored in order to parent well. So we took a pause and had a date night, and it went well, and then we're in better moods to deal with. So that was my first thought, was
that is
a date night.
A great win. When you self-care and care for your relationship, that is a parenting win. And if you'd like to share, if not, just pass the mic. Go ahead.
We went on vacation with cousins who are also challenging, along with my other child who's very challenging. And everyone had a great time, and we survived.
Wow.
It wasn't stressful.
Survived. All right. Okay. Parenting win.
We also did a vacation and the same thing, and we survived, and that
I
was
love
the key.
And would you go again?
Yes, we would.
That's a win. Okay, give me a parenting win. Let's remember to reflect on our wins. All right.
My 13-year-old used deodorant this morning on the way to school. It was a beautiful day.
That was a beautiful smelling day. Okay, parenting win. Go ahead. Can we have a win?
Just watching a lot of musicals with my youngest daughter, and I hate musicals.
So you connected.
But I love her.
You connected. Yeah. Okay.
We have now, of the three, most are pretty much grown, except for the 14-year-old that likes musicals. And everything's very dramatic at 14. So what was almost a crying situation, we were able to turn into a let's laugh about it situation. So keeping a sense of humor, parenting win.
Big one. We turned tears into laughter. Good job. Okay, parenting wins. Come on.
Okay, one thing my kids love to do that I instituted is the question of the day at dinner.
Who loves that? I do.
And it seems like so silly sometimes, but we'll be like having a argument or something not going well, and then my 4-year-old will pipe up with, "What's the question of the day?"
I love that. So that means something to them. They look forward to that. Okay, parenting win.
I don't have one for myself. However, I do want to speak on her behalf. Dinner time at her house is amazing. Because her kids, I mean, she's got like this phenomenal amount of kids. And they all sit around this table, and the first thing is, I want to pray, I want to pray, I want to pray.
Oh.
And to hear the, 2-year-old actually sit and pray, that's just a huge testament to her. So
It's beautiful.
I celebrate her.
You celebrate her, and that's beautiful, and I love hearing that. And by the way, your win is you're here tonight. Go ahead.
I simply want to say I know my 6-year-old feels loved, and that's my main goal is that he knows he is loved.
Isn't that a great feeling to know your child knows that they are loved by you? Go ahead.
I survived Walmart twice and Lowe's today with all 5 kids.
Beautiful. Any meltdowns?
No.
Whoa.
I almost had one. But none from the kids.
Give this lady a trophy. Well done. Okay, let's have parenting wins. This is as important as anything you can do, reflecting on your wins. And if you are going to build a plan of consistency, you better figure out where your wins are. Go ahead.
I think a parenting win for me is being consistent with a little bit of a boundary of having a meltdown and removing my child from the store.
Well done.
And that is a huge win for me.
Yeah.
Instead of compromising, like, here's a phone, stop crying.
Right.
That's really big for me. And we have those a lot. I have a 3-year-old.
Okay. Thank you. And that goes right with our consistency. Go ahead.
2 wins.
Yeah.
Taking our 2 oldest boys, who are now 8 and 9, shopping, where only one of them could spend money and the other one wasn't able to. And it was great.
Wow.
They both did really well. The other win was going back to work today and getting the kids out of the house to school on time.
Well done. It's always a win when you get your kids to school on time. It truly is. Good job. All right, over.
We
sorry.
had
I'm so
another
sorry.
win tonight. 2 cars getting home and ready to go in less than 15 minutes and on our way back to here. So.
Ooh. You guys know a secret there, because that's pretty hard stuff. Well done.
We got the kids to bed on time last night. It was amazing. It
There it
hasn't
is.
happened in months, so it's pretty awesome. Three, and then the infant sleeps all the time, so that was easy.
Well done. You guys have one back there? Oh, Teresa. How am I doing with time?
All right. My win was that we went on vacation last week with 7 kids, and they all made it back.
Oh my gosh, you didn't forget anybody?
We didn't lose any of them.
That's
it was
awesome.
close. One day there was a close call, but they all made it back. And I'll speak for my wife, Kim. She made it to all the kids' appointments on time.
Well done.
We do medical foster care, so there's a lot of appointments.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. You guys are amazing. Those wins. So can you imagine if every night you jotted down your win, and by the end of the week, how many wins there were? How motivated would you be to do what you consistently need to do? So great. All right, next section. Paying attention to your moods and energy levels. This is really what we talked about. Like when you're tired, how likely are you going to be consistent? So the first question is, describe a mood or an energy level that impacts your consistency. Is there a specific mood that causes you to be inconsistent? We know tired does, but for some parents, when they feel really angry, it's really hard to be consistent, or they actually may be even more, not consistent, but more authoritarian. And then when they're not angry, they kind of become inconsistent, because then they're like, oh my gosh, I was too strong coming out the gates, I'm going to pull back. And they have to kind of, that's the balancing act. Also, certainly energy levels affect that, but even a happy energy level can affect that. I had one parent, true story as you're thinking about this, that told me the kid kept coming home, their curfew, they were pretty much 12 one night, 12:30 the other night, 1 o'clock the next night. Their curfew was 11:30. And so one of the reasons the parents didn't hold on the curfew was the kid comes in an hour late, they were frantic, they were upset, but then mom says, you know what, she's a good kid, she got good grades today, let's just give her a break. I'm like, so you were happy that she was home and she made it home safely, and you were happy she got good grades, but it has nothing really to do with curfew. And so it really just, it was all inconsistent across the board. Any mood or energy level besides tiredness, because we've talked about that affects your ability to be consistent. Anybody want to throw one out there? Yes. Stress. Ooh, yeah. Stress. Yeah, when you're stressed, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. It's because your brain is, in this place, like we talk about when our kid's brain is in that fight and flight place, When parents' brain is stressed or in that fight and flight place, it's really hard to stay consistent. Did you have one? I was just going to say grief. Grief. Oh.
Just lost my mom a few months ago.
I'm so
and
sorry.
The fatigue kind of plays with that too when you're just spent.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to be there on something else
Right.
when your brain is and your body is feeling that intense grief.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Oh.
So one that I've noticed is, so I've learned that when my kids are dysregulated, that's not a great time to have a conversation. And so then when I let that moment pass and they regulate, then to be concerned that now having the conversation is going to send them back into a mood. So it's like you're just happy that they're like back to a good place and you don't want to mess it up. So then it's like, well, maybe I won't address that thing that they,
Yeah. So it's kind of like let's walk on our tippy toes so we don't break the, yeah, exactly. And I do hear that from a lot of parents where the kid chills down and they're like, okay, I don't want to stir this back up, but it never gets addressed. Right. Yeah, that's a really good one. Anything else? Mood or energy level that impacts you? Yes. Rough day at work. You know what? Yeah. You got this long day at work, and then you got to come home, and you got to hold on to 8:30 bedtime. Yeah, who's thinking that? Yeah. Okay. So again, then the second part of this, and we won't get into it, but I want you to maybe do it on your own, is write down things that help you regulate or shift your moods. And some of those things can be, tagging in and out with your partner. When you're really tired after a long day of work, you may want to tag out and say, you're in, if you can do that, if that's possible. Another thing can be positive self-talk. What's positive self-talk? What does that mean? Anybody? When your internal dialogue, what you're saying to yourself. If you're saying to yourself, I suck at this, I can't be consistent, then you're probably not going to be consistent. But when you're saying, I can do this, I got this, then you're probably going to be a little bit different about it. So learning your own mantras, your own self-talk mantras, what they can sound like. Does anybody have a mantra that they say to themselves, maybe in the car while they're driving before they pick their kid up at school or anytime? Anybody have a mantra they want to share? Okay. And let me, because we're wrapping it up. The next part of the plan is forgive your failures. Oh my goodness. How many of you forgive yourself when maybe you were consistent for the last 10 days and then, you kind of didn't follow the plan? Do you just give up or do you get back on the horse the next day? What do? How many of you get back on the horse the next day and come back with your consistency plan or do the thing you need to do? How many of you just say, I'm done? Yeah. So it's really about forgiving failures. So guess what? Nobody's going to be consistent 100% of the time. We are human beings. We cannot be consistent 100% of the time. I've never met anybody who's going to do that. I've never met any parent. But we want to work towards being more consistent. And when we don't, or when we have one of those days that we're just exhausted from work and we didn't hold true to what we did that night, that doesn't mean the next day we can't pick ourselves up and do it again. And that's really also teaching our kids, you know what? We're resilient. And that's a really important lesson. All right, last thing, because I want to make sure we go through the plan, and I hope you'll take it home, maybe talk to your spouse about it, work it yourself, is course correction. I love course correction. So course correction is a pilot files a flight plan before they get to the air. And that's all good, except what happens when there's a big thunderstorm? They have to course correct. And what we were talking about is consistency doesn't mean we can't have course corrections or flexibility. So sometimes the plan means that we need to do a course correction. And like, for instance, the example I gave where kids will pick up clothing every night before bedtime, the action kids pick up the laundry before bedtime, or the clothes don't get laundered. The result is laundry's building up. the kids don't care. So we may need to do a course correction. And in that one, we may need to add something to the plan. For instance, maybe the add to the plan is that at the end of the week, if the laundry's not picked up, then mom can choose to pick it up, but she's going to deduct her cleanup services from the kids' allowance. So every time I have to pick something up, you're going to owe me $1 out of your allowance. That's a course correction. We're still going to be consistent with the outcome. Clothes are going to get picked up, but we may have to course correct in a different way. That may not be the plan you use. You may try to do something else. But if the plan is not working, then do a course correction. Be flexible with yourself. Find something that does work. Typically, if you try enough things, you can find one thing that works. When I teach parents, we come up, we brainstorm together. I don't just teach, we brainstorm together and we find something that works. And it may mean that we do try a lot of things before something sticks. And then guess what? It sticks for a while, and then we may have to try something else. All right, any questions? You guys have been an amazing audience. I hope this was helpful. Anything that anybody wants to say? Okay. Y'all are tired. I can see that. So you want to go home and not be so consistent tonight because you're too tired now. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and thanks for having us, Jody. We always love being here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Yes, so your certificates are out there with your name on them. You can pick those up as you leave. That was such a great reminder. Thank you so much for sharing. I think one of the things, we've started to see this with our volunteer group as well, is, we work so hard with our volunteers and with parents on connection, and how do we say yes, and connecting before we correct, and to be curious over judgmental, and all of those things. And I feel like we're all tempered kind of more one way or another. We're either really good at the connection and the empathy piece, or we're really good at the structure, And so I guess that's my encouragement tonight is, if you tend to be more permissive, we need to maybe bring some structure and consistency into that. If you're already really good at that, maybe you need to be pulled a little bit more towards the connection. And we're never going to get it completely right. I'm so glad that these two told me that they're becoming TBRI practitioners soon, which will be like such a great addition to everything that they already know. But to me, that's the balance. It's like, it's nurture and structure, and it's doing both of those things in tandem. And I love the idea that TBRI teaches of scaffolding, because sometimes we want to be really, really, really consistent and structured. But if you're looking at a kiddo who cannot hang with your expectations in that moment, then sometimes we need to kind of lower the bar too. And so it's a balance, right? And sometimes it's hard. That's where we get into overthinking and all of those things. So, but thanks for giving us some great things to think about. If you wouldn't mind, real quickly, pull out your phone. If you have access to email on your phone, you should have gotten an email from me within the last couple of hours. There's a click here for a 3-question anonymous survey. If you would click on that, that would be fantastic. Answer those 3 questions really quickly. Do you feel more connected? Did you learn about a new community resource? And do you feel more confident in your parenting? That really helps us to know how we're doing on the topics that we're choosing, and helps us to communicate impact as well when we apply for grants and things like that. And then all the other information you need is in there as well. How to get a hold of these gals, how to get a hold of Teresa at Parenting Matters is in there. Your coupon code for the 5K, your Isaiah 117 invitation, all that stuff is in that email. So refer back to that. And we're excited to have you here next month. Registration will go live in the next couple of days. We're going to do a family fun event for Valentine's Day, where we're going to be intentional with connecting activities, and start to teach a little bit proactively about some nurture groups. So that'll be really fun. If you can hang out for a minute and help clean up, that's great. If you have kiddos and you want to scoop and go, that's awesome as well. But we're so thankful that you were here tonight, and we hope you have a really great week. If your kids are in that room, I don't know, you're probably going to want to stay and help clean up for a few minutes. So thanks so much for being here, you guys.